Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome, everyone. This is Conversation for Humanity. This is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that are facing people today because it is our goal to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And of course, I am your host, Chris Berryman, for today for Conversation for Humanity. Remember, every Tuesday is hosted by Sandy Chernoff, as you see here. She hosts Share with Sandy on Tuesday. Of course, I host Conversation for Humanity on Wednesday. And then our other partner, and great mentor, Carla Finnegan, will host Humanity Happy Hour. As you jump on, everyone, feel free to comment in the chat, whether it be on LinkedIn Live or on our YouTube channel where you are jumping on from, and put any questions, comments, or feedback on today's or even previous calls. And we would love to hear from you and reach out to you in a quick manner. And if you're watching this on the replay, please share the comment hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching from. And just to let everybody know, we can have only up to 6 people on at a time. So if you'd like to join us on the live stream link will be here on the LinkedIn Live here very shortly. And let's get going and everything. So, hello, Sandy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris. It's been a busy morning, but that's fine.
Well, we're all busy. We are all busy. I was busy today.
Well, you went to work, but I mean, I'm a person that's very organized, Chris. So I like to get everything set up. So this morning I did a lot of dinner prep, so that's sort of ready to go when I want to cook it. And I also put out some stuff so when Yale comes home, he can organize lunch.
Yep, I know how that goes.
And it's a nice day here today. And so maybe we'll be able to go for a walk because tomorrow it's supposed to rain and Friday it's supposed to rain. So we won't be doing walks those 2 days, but it's supposed to be nice again on the weekend. So we'll see what happens. We need the rain. I mean, we just
Yes, we need some rain too. I'll take the rain like anything right now because it's too hot and its humidity is just killing me.
Well, we've still got almost 300 forest fires burning in this province. And depending on how the winds are blowing, sometimes the smoke comes here. It doesn't come here as often as it goes east. And so, the interior of the province is just full of smoke. And there have been entire towns that are burnt to the ground, Chris. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I mean, they're small towns, but they're completely burnt to the ground. So these people lost everything. Their homes are totally gone. A lot of times their vehicles were burnt. I mean, it's absolutely devastating. It's so horrible. And, when the fires are getting close to the town, they give them an evacuation order and tell them to get the hell out.
Right.
So that they don't die. But, they can only take a few things with them. And, it's just these villages are flattened. It's just terrible. And California's in terrible shape.
Wow.
It's all down the West Coast. There's forest fires in Oregon and, Washington State, and California is the worst. This is apparently the worst fire season they've ever had. It has also destroyed whole towns. It's horrible, Chris.
Wow.
It's just, it's so scary. It's just
I'm sure it is.
So, we haven't had any fires in Vancouver per se, but there's even a small one burning outside of Squamish, which is close to Whistler. So, but apparently it was pretty small and they put it out right away.
Right.
And the fires on Vancouver Island. I mean, it's so tinder dry here that, if somebody just throws a cigarette butt away, it starts a fire. So it's just, it's terrible. It's completely devastating. So, scary. So I'm looking forward to the rain.
I would be too. Absolutely would
It's a
be.
funny thing to say, but because this is generally speaking a pretty rainy place, but it certainly hasn't been this summer. It's been very hot and very humid, and it's not usual for Vancouver. We usually have a few days that are, maybe in the high 20s or low 30s, but that's about it. Normally, it doesn't stay hot this long, and we don't go this long. We've been, I think, it's over 30 days now until this rain, that we haven't had rain. I mean, it's so unusual here. So it's just sad, just really sad. And I just feel so awful for these people that have lost everything. They've shown it on the news, just, what's left of these towns, and they're leveled. People lost their businesses, they lost their homes, they lost their vehicles, and they lost, lots of things like photographs and, things that are sentimental, and you can't replace them. They're gone.
Right.
So it's very sad.
I'm
But
sure. I'm sure.
it's climate change, Chris. I mean, we're destroying our planet.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Hello, Melinda. How are you doing today?
Doesn't want to talk to us. Unmute yourself, Melinda.
She's got two different screens on right now, and I don't know which one that she's wanting to be on because one's actually sharing a screen and one
Oh,
should be her. So,
okay.
uh, Melinda, we would love to hear from you uh, and everything. It's been a while, so we would love to
Yeah.
hear
Like
your
this.
points today on what we'll be discussing about support. So, yes, we would love to hear from you.
Doesn't want to talk to us.
I don't know what's going on, Melinda. You got too many windows open on your end. Uh, you may have to probably come back out and come back in because you got too many windows open because um, you're wanting to share the screen and we don't need that. So
She's gonna disappear and come back.
I don't know. So if you could do that for me, Melinda, why don't you just log off and log back in if you could, and because we're going to have some more people join here in just a second, so we don't need to tie up another spot. So if you can do that for me, that'd be greatly appreciated.
There you go. I hope Carla's gonna be here and Lisa.
Oh yes, I believe she will. I believe she will. I talked to her this morning, in fact.
Hmm.
So
I'll see. I was gonna go golfing tomorrow, Chris, but doesn't look like it. I don't golf in the rain. I'm a fair weather golfer.
won't golf in the rain.
Oh,
No.
sorry. I don't ski in the rain either.
Hello, Melinda. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? You also have the chat available, so if you'd like to chat to us, please let us know.
It's strange.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm not a technical savvy kind of guy. I just know when the technology works, it works when it works, but when it doesn't, I have no control over that. I can't. So, uh,
I said to you before,
I
Chris, when the
apologize that the
technology
issue.
works, it's really great, and when it doesn't, you just want to throw it out the window.
Yeah.
It
So,
just,
Melinda, I apologize because, like I said, I don't know if you can hear us, but because we can't hear you. So, I don't know what's going on, so I apologize, but I'm glad you're here. So if you'd just like to listen, um,
send
so
us a message in the chat.
yeah,
Let us know what's happening. If you need to
exactly.
be unmuted and your webcam needs to be on so we can see you.
Yeah. All right, Melinda, can you hear us?
Is your microphone muted? If it is, just click it to unmute it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's just weird.
Yeah.
So, Melinda, if you like I said, if you just like to listen, that's fine. We would love to talk to you. Um, so just if you have to hang out, then just hang out. And like I said, the chat's available to you, so you can be able to chat any questions, concerns, or comments that you want to talk about with us today. And that's not a problem. No worries there. And invite guest. I have that. So, but yeah, we're going to have another great and engaging conversation about support because yesterday we really had a great one. Yesterday, I really loved it and everything because it's like what you said yesterday, Sandy. Support is integrated with, I forget what you said, but it's very integral to the development of the organization to have that support that's open minded, open hearted, and everything. And
It
I
makes people
truly
feel
believe in
valued.
that.
You know,
Yeah,
when they know
value, and
when
support
they
are
know when they
connected.
know
That's
that they're
yeah,
supported and that their company, if they offer training, is going to make an investment in them. It makes them feel like these people care about me. They want me to do well, and it gives a whole different feeling to your job. It's just a matter of how is the leadership dealing with their employees. Well, if the employees feel acknowledged and if they feel appreciated and valued, it just it changes the whole culture, and it's a very important part of a successful culture. It's got to be respectful, but it needs to be supportive and encouraging and acknowledging. And if the leadership does that, and if the colleagues support each other and help each other, it's a great place to work. And people are happy. And as I also said yesterday, when people are happy, they're more productive, they're more efficient, they're more creative, and they don't get sick very often.
right.
So, but
I
that's a
totally
burden
agree.
because when somebody's not there, everybody else has got to pick up the slack. So it's a burden on everyone else when people are sick a lot. So it's very important to. I know Brian doesn't agree with me, but that's okay. I think that there are ways to set up things to make your employees happy. And it may not be your responsibility to do so, but you will have a stronger um, staff, and you'll have less turnover if your people are happy and if
Yeah.
they feel valued and appreciated and so on and so forth. They're not going anywhere.
Well, and that's what I'm really going to be bringing up today. Is I believe value and support and belonging are all interconnected.
Yeah,
And for me, at least, when it comes to the point of really getting in touch with people and meeting people where they are, I truly believe that, like I said, the next rise and renaissance of humanity is literally is at our fingertips right here, right now. Uh,
absolutely.
because when we let things naturally and organically grow in a positive dynamic and a positive light and create that openness uh, and everything, I really believe, like I said, there's just nothing that we cannot achieve or do, not only as a community, but also, more importantly, as individuals together. When we link arms and we stand side by side with one another and say, you know what, I'm here for the greater good, I'm here for the greater cause, greater mission, great whatever that might be for you. To me, at least, when we step outside of ourselves for just a brief moment, I truly believe we can not only meet people where they can meet us where we are, and then we're sitting all at the same table as humanity as it is. So we're already there. But more often than not, when it comes to support in the workplace, in basically anything else that you can think of when it's in relevance to support and belonging, the two most people that I know of who get in our way most of all is number one us. We get in our way far more than we even truly realize. And I truly believe that. But then again, the other part of that is that when we hear other people say, "Oh, I'm not going to help you out with this, or I'll help you out with that," or whatever the case may be, they end up telling us the things that we can or should not do, and then they do it in such a way to distance themselves from us, and then we become isolated and left on an island by ourselves to do virtually nothing because we're not engaged. We don't feel like we belong. We don't feel like we're a part of something bigger. I mean, you can just go on and on with a list of things that you can just add to that. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, support and belonging and value are, like I said, all interconnected and intertwined. But how do we achieve that in a open environment, whether to be at work, whether to be at the grocery store, wherever that might be? I just believe we just have to let things be for what they are. Don't try to manipulate, add, or subtract what's not there or is there or whatever the case may be. We can, in our minds, though, we can add, subtract, and kind of manipulate the situation for what works best for us in our model of the world. And if our model of the world works good for us in a particular time, in a particular place, with a particular set of values, skill sets, whatever that might be, I believe that's a great way to move forward. What's your thoughts on that, Sam?
I agree. I think that, when you have a group of people who work together, if they're really a team, Chris, then they help each other. And as we discussed yesterday, that was one of the reasons why we did a lot of cross training in the dental office, because sometimes patients don't show up. That means that a hygienist or a dentist might have an hour and a half with nothing to do. But if you know how to sterilize instruments or go into the office and pull charts or file charts or help somebody else in the office, by doing some charting or assisting them in some way or ordering supplies, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you are aware of what else you can do with that time that you now have, that downtime, why wouldn't you help out? I mean, you just want to sit around and be bored. I mean, what good does that do to anybody? So it's so much better to help out. And when we help each other, that's really what a team is all about. And if you help somebody, so the next time you need help, they'll be more likely, if they can, to help you. I mean, none of this is rocket science. It's just a matter of being nice to people, being humane. And when you can do that, you have a far better situation in your job. And it makes for a culture where things work well and where people help each other and collaborate and work together. And when that happens, good things occur. You end up with great results. And again, when people are happy working with the people that are at their job, it's just such a different atmosphere. Whereas, I hate this person, I want to work with that. I mean, that's a very uncomfortable atmosphere to work in when you really don't like a lot of the people that you work with because they're not nice. Hi, Lisa. So it's a matter of looking at what are we trying to do and how are we going to make our workplace comfortable and good and, respectful and all those things. Well, we got to be nice to each other and we have to help each other. And it's just a matter of looking around and seeing what needs to be done. It's not that hard, especially if you have some time. Why wouldn't you look around and see if somebody needs a hand and lend it?
Right.
How hard is that? But it's a matter of some people don't look past themselves. And, if you are busy and you don't have time to help out today, well, that's fine. So do your job and, whatever, and people will appreciate what you get accomplished. But if you do have, like 20 minutes or, even half an hour, so look around and see what can be done and help out or ask someone if they need a hand with something. I mean, how hard is this? It's just a matter of paying attention to what's going on. A lot of people don't do that. But if you're part of a team and we work collaboratively towards our goals, whatever they may be, because most likely are common, especially if we're working on a project together. Why wouldn't you want to help somebody? I mean, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Just never did. And, that's why, I mean, when I was practicing, if a patient didn't show up, I'd go into the office. Do you guys need charts pulled? Do you need any patients to be called, to confirm their appointments? Can I file charts for you? What can I do to help? Or if, one of the dentists needed an extra hand, or it doesn't matter. If you know what to do, go do it. Or if you went into the sterilization room and there were a whole bunch of instruments in the sink, so scrub them, bag them, and put them through. Again, it's not that hard. It's just a matter of being observant and paying attention to what's going on so that we can help each other. And if you have that kind of mindset and everybody else does, what a good place to work, seriously. But it's just a matter of somebody's got to set the tone for that. Somebody's got to walk the walk. And, as I told you, sometimes when I needed someone to do charting for me, occasionally it was actually a dentist who had a few minutes and they came over and did the charting with me. I mean, it didn't happen that often, but occasionally it happened. And it's just a matter of, that was a good example when you see the dentist doing that. So why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly.
Just, it's a matter of what are we doing in our workplace? Are we just totally doing our own thing, or are we doing our own thing but seeing what else is going on and seeing if there's someplace else that we can help out?
Well, I got to ask you this, Lisa, and I started the call in this manner. I truly believe, like we were discussing yesterday, that values, support, and belonging are all interconnected. Do you believe that is so?
Of course, it is interconnected. We've got to invest in our employees, ensure that they have the tools to be successful, and if we do that, then they're going to be more open to helping and doing things because they aren't struggling. They aren't trying to, just get by. They have the tools to be successful and they should be able to help. I mean, obviously, I think it goes back to what we talked about before, is that you have to hire the right people. If you don't hire the right people, you may never get them to turn around. However, usually if the expectation, or like Sandy was saying, if the leader or the dentist sets the tone, typically people around them are going to follow suit because they realize if they're doing it, it must be an expectation.
Right.
Right? I mean, so again, that's all, it all goes back to setting the tone. If I'm a leader or, a dentist or whatever, and I just go in and shut my door and don't talk to the team or don't, pay attention to what's going on, probably not too many people are going underneath that, that the direct reports are probably not going to do that either, because they're going to worry, well, what if I do this? We see the manager or the leader over there doing nothing.
Right.
Not getting involved, not being a part of it, and then there, it's just going to be worse. So it's definitely interconnected. If it's not, if we don't set the tone as leaders, as a company, then things are not going to be in the best interest of
They're not.
the company, of the employee.
So, Sandy, I think this is a great segue into your Biz Catalyst 360 article that you did about what are the 4 stages of team development. Would you like to go into that?
Well, it's a matter of looking at, how does your team work? And again, the example has to be set by the leader. So whether it's the team leader or it's the boss or, whatever it is, it's a matter of if they don't set the tone, then their people aren't going to do what we want them to do, because they follow suit when they see what other people are doing. And it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of being a collaborative partner where you help out and you pay attention to what is going on. And if the team leader does those kinds of things, then it's more likely that the members of the team will follow suit. But if they don't help out and they don't do any of those kinds of things, then the team probably isn't going to function very well. And if it doesn't function very well, it's going to be hard to get stuff done. So it's a matter of helping things out. It's
Yes,
just a matter of getting people involved. And so it says there, what is an example of effective facilitation behavior during the morning stage? And what is an example of effective team member behavior during the storming stage? And what team development stage is most critical one? And why do you think so? And what additional stages would you add to the 4 team development stages? It's a matter of, again, like Lisa said, first of all, you got to hire the right people. You got to hire people that have the skills that you need for whatever it is you're trying to do. And then again, you've got to set the example so that they know what you want them to do. Because if you don't, you're not going to get what you want. Nobody's going to be happy. So it's a matter of, what are we doing? And there are different things that we can do to help people do well. So, it's just a matter of, I don't know, it's not that hard, but somebody needs to lead. And if they do, things will happen. That's why I said, with my dad, he did all this stuff. And so everybody followed suit because, first of all, his expectations were way up here. And his outcome, like the kind of dentistry that he practiced was amazing. As I told you, he had a lot of dentists who were his patients, which speaks volumes because if dentists come to you, they know you're a good dentist and they know that you're going to put good dentistry into their mouth. But, he expected all of us to also, try to do the best we could. And that was the reason for supporting us with training. And that way, everybody had the skills necessary to do the best they could do. And so we had, very high outcomes in the office. And everybody, we had fun. We had fun together. We even had a lab guy who did all the lab work right in our office. He had his lab set up right in our office. And Jim, he did other dentists too, but he did all our lab work. And, it was cool because you just go in and bring him the models or, whatever. And he would just create the crowns and, whatever else they were looking for. And it was cool having him right in the office. But, the way our office was set, it was kind of interesting. You walked in to the reception waiting area. The front office was open. It was just glassed in. So we could see them, they could see us. So they could see what was going on in the clinic. And the clinic had no walls between the chairs. It was just a room with a lot of dental chairs in it. So everybody could see what was going on. So if you saw that somebody needed some help and you had a minute to help them, you could go and do it because you could see it. So it was just it was a different kind of plan. And I think my dad and his partners, they set it up that way so that it would function better. And it did, because you can't see through walls. So you don't know what's going on when somebody's just in an operatory by themselves. So it worked pretty well. And, when you have an assistant on either side of the patient can't necessarily see what's going on in other chairs. But we could because we were looking around. So, but it's just, it's a matter of how do you set up. It's the same thing in an office. People have their cubicles, but depending on how it's set up, if it's clear plexiglass, you can see what's going on. And if somebody needs something, they can, whatever. It's just a matter of what are you doing? And it's just so important when you work as a group that you actually work as a group, that you help each other, that you pay attention to what other people need, and we respect those needs, and we help out. Again, if you help out, why would somebody help you? It's just, it's not that hard, but it's a matter of somebody's got to set that tone. And once it's set, then other people will probably follow suit. And it just works so much better. When you can rely on your colleagues and they know they can rely on you. It's just, again, this is not rocket science, but it's certainly going to give you a good outcome. So it's just a matter, I don't care what kind of an industry it is. It doesn't matter what industry it is. I mean, I told you I work a lot in the construction industry. Boy, they better help each other. They better be paying attention or people are going to get hurt. So, I also worked for a big cement company out in one of the suburbs, and, same thing. People have to be paying attention, particularly depending on what kind of industry you're in, because people can get hurt. So it's important to be paying attention and to be helping each other and focusing on what it is you're supposed to be doing so that people don't get hurt. So, again, it's just a matter of what are we doing, and do people know their job and how it works and how we work with other people? It's, again, not rocket science, but somebody has to set the tone, and people have to know what's expected of them. You have to know what others want them to do. And, in some cases you can, because you know what to do, you can do it. But in some cases, some people need to be shown what to do or told what to do or told what's expected of them so that they know what to do and how to help out. It's just a matter of, it works so much better when everybody works together.
Right. So, Lisa, what's your thoughts on what Sandy just presented to us?
Yeah, it's definitely a important factor to set the expectations, to set the tone, because again, if we don't set the tone in a positive way, then we're setting our team up for failure, if you ask me, because like Sandy said, people want to know what the expectations are. They want to know what's expected of them so that they can do a good job. I think no one sets out to say, well, I'm going to do a bad job today. Everyone goes in, right? I want to do the best that I can do. I want to make my boss happy, my leader happy. I think innately we just want to make other people happy, whether we believe it or not, or whether we admit to that or not, right? Most people want to make others happy. And if we don't know what the expectations are, and it's not just the job expectations, it's the culture expectations. It's, the expectation. And so if you have a leader that never interacts with anyone, that is setting the tone for the office or the team to not interact with one another as well. So, obviously other people are going to be more innate or have a different personality and may interact just normally, but if the leader isn't interacting in a positive way, they're always going to be wondering, is this a problem with my leader? Is there a problem? So again, as leaders, as a corporation or a company, we set the tone. We then need to make it so that our team can be successful. And giving them the tools to be successful, I think, starts with the expectations, because they need to know. They need to know what's expected of them. They need to know what to do, and then they can move forward with that and continue to directly impact the rest of the company. The whole company as a whole, or the whole office as a whole. Can be connected that way. But if we have 5 bad apples, more likely that's going to take effect and create more bad apples. So we want to have that expectation, a positive expectation set by the leader. And it's amazing when you see the tone set by the leader in a positive way and how it affects everyone.
Right.
Changes
So,
the
Lisa, I
culture,
will go back
changes
to
the
what
tone.
you posted on our corporate page about alignment. What does alignment mean and look like to you in relevance to, like I said, the support factor, the belonging factor, the value factor? Because as we just said at the start of the broadcast, we say everything's interconnected. So when you add that alignment into that mix, do you also see the alignment's also interconnected with everything else too as well?
Well, the way I see it, the alignment is the interconnectedness. That is the interconnection. If I'm in alignment with the company I'm working with, that is interconnected. So I guess I feel like the alignment is just another way of saying interconnected. And so I feel like if you're, it goes the same for people in general. When you're talking to someone, when you're building a relationship with someone, if you're in alignment, that relationship is going to be energizing. It's going to be effective. It's going to work better. You won't have to work as hard to make it work. It just happens, right? Because you're in alignment, you're connected. So your values, your morals, all of those things, when they're connected or interconnected, I think you're in alignment, and it's easier. Not saying you don't have to, work at it to make some things work, but I think it's just easier. It's not, I have to do this is, you don't really have to think about it as much. It just happens naturally. And so I feel like when people are connected or in alignment with a company they work with, or whatever it is, but we're talking about workplaces. So when you're connected or interconnected or in alignment, I think that it just works. You don't have to, the expectations are still important, and it's still important to come from the leader, because everyone needs to know what's expected of them so that they can be successful. But I don't think it's as it's like the difference between personalities. If Sandy and I have the same basic personality, it's going to be easier for us to build a relationship and get along. But if we have two different personalities, it may take a little extra effort. Not that that's a bad thing, because it's great that we have different people, different personalities. I think that's what makes our world so great. But it takes a little more effort to make it work.
But it's better. The alignment piece is we're all on the same page. And that's a matter of, we're all thinking in the same way. And that's why when you bring somebody new on board, they need to have a clear job description. They need to know exactly what's expected of them so that they can at least get started and have step by step knowing what they need to do. Once somebody's been around for a while, you probably don't need that anymore. But to start with, it's very important for a new person to know exactly what's expected of them and what they're supposed to be doing. And so a clear job description is very helpful. But it's a matter, again, when you're working in an office or you're working in a production line or, whatever it is, we need to be aware of the people that we're working with and paying attention, not only just to what we're doing, but to what everybody else is doing, so that A, people don't get hurt, and B, that we are working towards, some end game, whatever it might be. So, everybody has to pull their weight. Everybody's got to help out in, whatever way they can. And if we're doing that, then we're going to accomplish whatever it is we're aiming for, and everybody will be happy, because if we're all rowing together, we're going to get to the end of the line. And it's just a matter of realizing that when you're on a team, you need to act like a team member, which means that you do your job, but you also pay attention to what other people are doing to see if you can help out. I mean, that's what team members do. We help each other so that we can accomplish what our common goal is, whatever that may be. And teams always have common goals. And hopefully those have been collaboratively decided upon, so that, we are all on the same page and we are all rowing together. So it's just a matter of looking at that bigger picture. But again, it's not that hard. I mean, it's really not. And I think once people sort of get into that mode, then it becomes easier. And, you just slip in and do your thing. But it's just a matter of that needs to be set. And again, it needs to be demonstrated by whoever's leading the team. And just to make sure that everybody understands exactly what their responsibilities are and start working on whatever you're supposed to be working on. It's,
Exactly. And a team is functioning positively, properly, in a positive way. I think, they are doing those things. They are looking out for their teammate, and they are supporting each other. And so again, it's, like Sandy said, it's just so important that these expectations are set, whether it's in the form of a job description or if it's a leader sitting down and saying, these are your expectations. Obviously, preferably on a job description because it's consistent and standardized. But, you take a production team and, if you throw somebody in without any clear expectations, it's setting the team up for failure because one, they don't know what to do, and two, there's going to be more drama, more issues around, and not necessarily anyone in particular doing it on purpose. It's just because there's such a chaos or a period of confusion, and so if you have someone who doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing, or what they're supposed to even be learning. And so it's important to have those things standardized so that people know what they're doing. Again, to me, that's just giving team members the tools that they need to be successful. And I think that's just the start of it with the expectations.
Well, that's part of the support system. I mean, if we don't have a support system, then we can't help our people to be able to do what they need to do and to have the skills and the knowledge to know what's expected of them so that they can provide it.
Exactly.
So, and that's part of the support thing. I mean, part of it is training, but part of it is just teaching people or informing them on what it is they're supposed to be doing so that they can move forward and do it. Again, not rocket science, but if you don't help people to know what's expected of them, how can you expect them to produce? I mean, that's just ridiculous. And so it's very important to have a sit down and figure out what the person's responsibilities are. And again, you got to be accountable. I mean, you've got to fulfill your responsibilities, whatever they may be. But if you don't know what they are, it's kind of hard to fulfill them.
Exactly.
It's a matter of, having a conversation or a sit down, or you actually hand them a document. These are your responsibilities, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. And if you have any questions, come back to me. I will help you with any of those things that you're not clear on.
Exactly. And it could be something as simple as, people using their cell phones on the production line. If the leader never tells them not to do that, how do people know? Or if they do tell them and they see it happening or know it's happening, but do nothing about it, that causes problems. So those are, and I use that example because that would come up on the production floor quite a bit.
It comes up everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. New team members would use their phone and, they were clearly told in orientation they're not to have their cell phone out during work time, but then the manager would never follow up. And so you've got the team leader in the middle trying to ensure production is getting done, but things aren't happening because new team members or even current team members or team members with seniority are, on their phone or texting and nothing's being done about it. And so that causes, okay, you told me this, but this is what's really happening. And so there's a conflict there because it's not consistent with the message. So that's a part of the puzzle too.
Especially if there's no consequence, Lisa. If there's no consequence for doing something that you were told not to do. So they were just doing it. So it's a matter of there has to be a consequence if you're doing something that you were told not to do.
Right.
It's just like with kids. I mean, there's no difference with your kids.
Yes. And an inconsistent message, which sets the tone in a negative way. Yeah, exactly.
If kids do things they're not supposed to do and we don't do anything about it, they'll continue to do things they're not supposed to do. Adults are no different.
Yes,
they really aren't.
Big kids.
Yeah, they're just big kids, right?
They're worse.
But it's just, it's a matter of if there's no consequence for doing something you were told not to do, people will continue to do it. Mm-hmm. But if there's a consequence, like, when I was teaching, I told the students that I didn't want to see any phones out during my class. And if I did, they were going in a box in my desk and they wouldn't get them back till the end of the class. So the first few classes, I had a box full of phones. But after that, they quit doing it because they understood that I wasn't going to stand for that because it's very disruptive, it's very distracting, and it's not appropriate. If you're supposed to be in a class, learning in the class, then you shouldn't be on your phone.
Well, it's impolite.
It is impolite, Carla. Absolutely. And it's distracting to other people. So it's a matter of, what are you doing? And that's why I took them away. Anybody I saw on their phone, I said, give that to me. Or else I'd just go over and take it away from them. And I just put it in a box on my desk. And at the end of the class, they could come and collect their phones. But I didn't want them being in use during the class because it's inappropriate, totally inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So there had to be a consequence. And the consequence was they lost their phone.
There you go.
Exactly.
I mean, it was just till the end of the class, but nonetheless, it was, there has to be a consequence.
Well, after a while, I would guess that it would get quite embarrassing to have to walk your phone up to the box. Because other people are sitting around thinking, you dumbass, are you catch on yet? How many times are you going to be walking up there with your phone?
Exactly, Carla.
Exactly.
It's just a matter, there has to be, again, it's the same thing with our kids. There had to be a consequence. And I told you with my son, that was sort of difficult. I always tell people it's a lot easier to raise stupid kids than it is to raise smart ones, because you got to stay ahead of the smart ones. And Mark's very smart. So, he would go and do things he knew he wasn't supposed to do just to see what I would do. And if I didn't notice what he'd done, he'd come and tell me and stand there and look at me. I mean, he was really something, I'll tell you. And that's just because he's a little boy, and that's kind of what little boys do. And so what Yale and I had to do is we had to sit down and figure out what consequences mattered to Mark, because spankings didn't work. He'd come and pull down his pants. Want to spank me? Because he didn't care. With my daughter, if you just threatened to smack her, that was enough. That was enough that Elisa would just behave. But not with Mark. He didn't care. He was tough. So that didn't work. And what we had to do is take away, if my mother invited them out for dinner, or if Yale's mom invited them out for dinner, or invited them to a sleepover, invited them to a movie or a play or the Ice Capades or something. That's what we took away. And that really pissed him off. So then he would, realize that he couldn't be doing these things that he was doing because there was going to be a consequence he didn't like. And, I told you that his son turned into him. And Mark phoned me, he was in a panic. And I said, you and Kim have to sit down and figure out what consequences matter to Jack. And then when he does something he knows darn well he's not supposed to do, you have to exercise that consequence. And I said, the two of you have to be consistent, because once he figures out one of you is softer than the other, you're done.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who was playing with his son,
Hi.
and he was kicking the back of the seat in front of him. And my friend said, hey, Josh, you need to stop kicking the seat in front of you. He goes, well, what are you going to do, hit me? Everybody turned around and gave him the evil eye. When my kids were growing up, one of my children liked to lie. And so I said, oh, hey, let's go to McDonald's after soccer practice, And so they're all excited we're going to McDonald's, and I drove past McDonald's. You said we were going to go to McDonald's. I said, I lied.
So at the beginning of the broadcast, Carla, we were talking about how everything is interconnected to each other, like support, value, belonging, alignment. What does that all look like and mean to you, Carla?
Oh, gosh. Where do you begin with that thought? My goodness. It's a big thought. Give me some words again, and let me see if I can tie them together. Since you put me
value, belonging, alignment.
Well, I think everybody wants to belong to something. I think right now, after the past 2 years, people are craving community. And they want to get back together with people, and they want to belong, and kids want to be part of sports teams again and be a part. And people want that alignment and when you're with a great group of people, a lot of times you have the same alignment in your values, your thoughts, and how you conduct yourself. And that's just a great place to be. And I think that everybody is looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
Be aligned with their purpose, have a reason for being, and they just really want to make an impact in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So true, so true. And I truly believe, again, ladies, everything is connected to everything else. It's just like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And then there's that natural byproduct effect after that fact. It's like if we show companies, and we will show companies, that the next currency of humanity is not going to be rooted in value, like they say, we value you and all that kind of stuff, and they don't walk the walk and talk the talk like you. But to
Bless
me,
you.
like I said, the best tangible way that we can show people that is they say the next currency of humanity is that very value. It's not just blowing smoke or anything like that. It's truly that real tangible thing, pulls to the heartstrings, pulls to their belonging framework. It pulls it into their alignment. And when we show people that the money component can work in balance with everything else too as well, we're not going to be focused on the money component of our lives. We'll be focused on the value component of our lives, because once we truly value people for who they truly are, separate the money from the actual value, is what we've been attributing for probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. We are going to be so much more a part of something bigger, because we're not limiting ourselves or limiting others because we're focused on the money component onto that. Or say, hey, they're making X amount of money more than me. Well, why is that? I don't need to know how much people make. That's not my purview. That is not my job to know what people make. My job is to do what I was called to do and do my part within the scope of the framework that's been laid out for me. If someone makes $10,000 more and I'm only making 65.5, and they're, like I said, making $10,000 more than that's not for me to say. But what I am looking for is a person who is doing said work, who is getting paid, let's say, quote unquote, more than me. If they're not pulling their weight and they're not being held accountable, that's what I'm really worried about. If they're not doing their 1% and giving it 100%, then they are not only not leading with their humanity every day in every way, they're not having others follow that same example.
Well, part of it, Chris, is, you can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk. It's not good to just talk it up. You got to actually roll up your sleeves and do it. And when people do that, it has far more impact than people just talk about it. And again, like Lisa said, people are using their cell phones and they were told not to use their cell phones, but nothing happens. It's not going to stop them from using their cell phones. There has to be a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So people need to know that, if we're on a production line or we're in the office doing work, we don't go on our cell phone. I mean, it's just not what we do.
And that just damages the message that was originally given. So here's the expectation, but here's what's really happening.
Nothing.
And so And so people are doing what's really happening. And so you're giving this message over here, but it doesn't mean anything.
No.
Because this is what's really happening. Nothing. And people, so that causes people to not know what the expectation is.
I mean, cell phones are very convenient. I mean, there's no question about that. But when you're at work doing your job, you shouldn't be on your cell phone. It's just, I used to leave mine in my purse in my locker turned off.
Yeah. Well, emergencies happen.
Yes.
When it's a daily emergency, and you see it happening all the time, and that no one's going to do anything about it, and production is down, and what customer service should be like is not what people are getting. When people disappear to the break room for an hour and they're on their cell phone, you politely go, "My God, is there an emergency or something? Everything okay?" Thinking that they'll catch the hint, and they don't get the hint. "Oh yeah, everything's cool. We're good. let's see, what can I do here? And you're thinking to yourself, well, you haven't done anything all day. Why are you going to start? Don't mess with me and get me pissed off, okay?
Well, and you see people,
and
so
that
many
is exactly
people,
what, it's things like that it was exactly why I didn't want to be in management, because there wouldn't be anybody to manage, because I wouldn't tolerate any of that shit. And my husband's that way too. He's like, they wanted me to be a manager, but honestly, I'd fire every one of them except for 2 people,
well, you see people walking down the street like this, and you wonder how come they don't fall off the curb or walk into a post or, whatever. And
Right.
can you
They can't see
bear
past the end of their
5
nose.
not on your phone?
So I was meeting my husband at a mall at the Greek restaurant that we like. And I was coming in, and I swear I was not on my phone. And I'm kind of looking along the glass windows along the side, thinking that he's sitting at the bar talking to the manager that he knew from the electronic industry. And I'm just like kind of walking and doing this. And next thing I know, I am like smashed up.
Oh, no.
I mean, it broke my glasses. I had this huge knot on my head. And I'm like, it was embarrassing. Okay. And my husband wasn't even sitting at the bar. He was actually farther down the mall, and he comes up, and he doesn't say, "Are you all right?" He says, "Were you on your phone?" And I'm like, "No, I wasn't on my
No, I was looking inside the restaurant. That's what I was doing.
For you.
But there are all sorts of videos of people literally walking into fountains and falling downstairs. And they've got their phones glued to their face.
They're not paying attention to anything else. And I mean, you don't have to have your whole life on your phone. If you have to make a phone call to someone, so pull over to the side and make the phone call. Don't keep walking. And you don't need to be on your phone day after day, hour after hour, all the time. It's just not. It's not that important. But a lot of people, that's where they live. They just live on their phone.
Well,
And what's interesting is you can get 2 teenagers in a room together,
and they don't talk.
They're literally texting each other on the phone. It's like, why don't you just talk to each other?
My brother hates that, Lisa.
It drives me crazy. It's like, come on, guys.
When my brother comes into the room, if his kids are doing that, he yells at them, "Put your phones away. I want to hear talking." Like he gets furious. Why are you sitting beside each other and texting? Put those phones away and talk. I want to hear talking. He gets so mad at them. Because it is ridiculous. Why are you sitting beside somebody and texting them?
Or in a restaurant, they're both on their phones.
Yeah.
Right. Or they're both sitting there talking to other people, texting other people. And it's like, why did you guys even get together
Exactly.
today? Because you guys are obviously interested in other things.
Right.
It's weird.
It is weird. It's all about getting in alignment to what you want to do and why you want to do it. And technology has a balance to it. And a lot of people don't realize how that balance works. It's like we see people every day in cars. They're on their phones. Why are they on their phones?
That's scary.
Car. There's always a natural balance to everything that we do and why we do it. But when it comes to relevance, when it comes to support, alignment, belonging, there is also that balance too as well within the scope of all that interconnectedness that is there. How do we get there? Not only from a place of leadership, but also from a place that I can also myself, whether it be a partner, employee, however you want to call it, I can deem myself to be within said balance of why I want to do what I want to do when supporting Carla or supporting Lisa or supporting Sandy and getting things done. There's always a natural balance to everything. But sometimes we forgo sometimes our rational thought of doing the things that we're doing, and we don't sometimes think rationally. We get so hyped up into the emotion part of it and everything I've done that many times over. I get caught up in the moment and I just go off the deep end. We have all done that. That's why we're human beings. But
Mm.
if you create an environment that can lead you to become a person who can express their humanity in their own unique way, be able to be respectful of the situation or the experience and everything. Um, I truly believe that. And hello, David Pushkin. This is what he just said. To a certain extent, that there's a fear of missing out is why people stay connected to electronic devices. Yes, FOMO is real to a lot of people, David.
Mm.
You're absolutely right. FOMO is real. But see, I don't let technology rule me. I do not. I know that there's a natural balance to everything. And sometimes I have to be forcing myself. I have to say, I got to put it away. And sometimes you got to do that, especially when it comes to social media. People on their social media is like 24/7. No, you got to have a balance.
I
Same
don't do
thing with
social media on my phone. I almost never even do emails on my phone. I use my phone for texting and calling. So, I mean, I have long distance in Canada because my son lives in Toronto and I also have other friends, across the country. And I usually speak to Mark, a couple times a week. And sometimes I just text him to see what's going on. But it's very handy to be able to phone him. And I use my cell phone because I have free calling. And sometimes I call his home landline and sometimes I call his cell phone. It just sort of depends.
and
And
and I'm glad you brought that up, Sandy, because now when it comes to support in the workplace, it's in relevance to our electronic devices. For me, as a leader, I've always said, hey, if you need anything, call me. If you need anything, email me. If you need anything, text me. I think that's another way we as leaders can show up each and every single day and say, hey, if you can't get with me in the office, shoot me a text, call me. It's just like Synovus Financial, who's one of the largest financial firms here in the United States, what they did, and I think you may have known this, Carla, because it is in the 21 year free laws of leadership, because John C. Maxwell spoke about this. The CEO of Synovus Financial puts it in the mission statement about the golden rule, but also what they did for a step further above that is he literally, or she, whoever that was, literally gave out his or her personal cell phone number to everyone at Synovus Financial. Now, I've never heard of that before. When I was listening to John C. Maxwell tell about that little story about Synovus, I was like, wow, an
What was the
actual
purpose behind it?
CEO. Say that again?
What was the purpose behind it?
Well, the purpose behind it was because he wanted to get in touch with the people in the organization. He wanted to have that true open door policy.
Okay.
And see, with open doors, creates not only openness, but creates belonging. Um, I just saw you just put a link in the chat. I will definitely take a look at that, Lisa. What is that resources?
So that is
Can
talking
you
about
explain on that?
FOMO in the workplace. So we talked about FOMO just a minute ago. So maybe this is something we can talk about tomorrow
Oh yeah,
on our call, because FOMO is something that there's this resource is saying that can be utilized in the workplace. It can have either a positive or a negative impact depending on how it's used in the workplace. And so creating a good culture within the organization can create FOMO in a positive way, because people are engaged in missing work when they're gone. so they want to come back to work. Sometimes you leave work because you're happy to be gone and you don't, not really excited to come back. They're saying here that FOMO can be used to create an engagement to where people are missing their coworkers, they want to come back. And so they say done the right way, FOMO can be used in a positive way.
Oh, wow.
So interesting. I just looked it up real quick, so I haven't read the entire article. But I just thought it was interesting because I know that FOMO is something that's used in photography marketing. It's a marketing strategy. And so if you create a sense of FOMO with your potential clients, they're more apt to call you right away. And so there's ways of doing this. I'm just learning this actually. So it's interesting that we talked about it. FOMO is used in photography marketing to create a sense of, I want to call this photographer and set up a session, because you've created a strategy to make them feel like they have FOMO. So their fear of missing something that's going on. And so according to what I'm learning is it's a lot of it's with the younger generation, obviously, because they're connected to their phone and they have this like David was saying, there is a certain amount of FOMO in that people feel if they don't stay connected to their devices or their social media, they're missing something. So again, I think it's not just in young people, though. I think it's anyone who stays connected and doesn't have the balance like Chris was talking about. You can have that fear of missing something. Oh, I got to check my Facebook and see what updates. You hear people say that all the time, which is interesting. So there's the FOMO again. And so if employers or organizations can use FOMO in a positive way in their organizations. So that's what this article talks about. I'm gathering from the
I'll have to definitely check into that. I just put it in our leadership chat for us to take a look at it later. But FOMO in the workplace, I've never heard of that. That is something
I haven't really thought about
we need to talk about.
I haven't either. So interesting that employers are using these things that are coming up in the general community, in our society, to leverage their workplaces. So,
well, especially got a lot of millennials in the workplace now, and they're the ones that live on their phones. So, they're going to check everything. I mean, like I said, I don't do social media on my phone. I hardly ever do even email on my phone. I just don't find it's that comfortable. I check stuff on my computer.
Right.
It's it's just so much easier to use a keyboard and a nice big screen and whatever, rather than this tiny little thing here. I can't believe sometimes when I'm on the subway, there are people watching TV shows on their phone. I'm thinking, really?
Well, they're mini computers. They're mini computers.
They are. Yeah.
They really are. And people, I hear a lot of people, they left their phone at home and they're a mess. They don't know what to do with themselves, And so again, I think it's that FOMO, right? Their fear they're going to miss something that comes through their phone. And so again, it's interesting how it all, Chris said in the very beginning, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And so, how do employers leverage things within the society for a positive spin on it, right? How do we, it's just like photographers using it as a marketing strategy. So reading your society or reading the general population, and how do we leverage this to our advantage? And when I say advantage, I mean more of in a positive, how do we make a positive impact in utilizing the tools around us to impact the best and the greatest?
You're absolutely right. I like to say we definitely have to talk about that FOMO at work, because, like I said, I have never heard of that before. But I believe anything can be real to others, because again, it's within the model of the world that we work under when it comes to that. What works good for us at that time, if we have a fear of missing out on something at work, oh, I didn't get that email from somebody. I maybe need to check my email, or I maybe missed that call. Did I miss that call? Maybe I was on the phone texting my brother sitting right next to me. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I've
That's
never thought of it in the workplace. I've seen it in marketing and used it, but I've never thought of it in the workplace. It'd be interesting to take a look at.
absolutely.
Yes.
I copied it on a document. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just put it like I said. I just put it in our leadership chat, so we'll take a look at it. But that is FOMO in the workplace. Who would have ever
Who
thought
would have
that?
thought? Yeah.
Yeah, who would have ever thought that?
Well, again, you're dealing with a new generation of people that live on their phones, and
Well, I use
hopefully
my
your
phone
employees.
more than my laptop,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah, but you don't usually carry your laptop around with you.
yeah.
It's convenient. I find myself a lot of times using my phone for things that I could use my tablet or my
Mhm.
my laptop, but it's just so easy if I have my phone with me already. I just,
Yeah.
Google something or whatever, or, or even,
Or say, "Hey, Google."
show or
So,
I'm
so
being
ladies,
converted and I don't even know it.
yeah. So ladies, um, we're gonna close up and wrap up the show today, and I want to hear from each and every single one of you. What would be the call to action for what we've been discussing as our theme of this week about support, alignment, value, all that stuff that's interconnected? What would be your call to action, Carla?
Well, if I had to pick a word between alignment and all that kind of stuff, I would think of values, and the thing that comes to mind so many times is do the right thing. You can't go right with wrong. You can't go wrong with right.
Oh, you talking about this one? Is
Yeah,
this what
that
you're
one.
talking about? Doing the right thing is the right thing to do. You can't go wrong with right. Yeah.
It's a good one.
I wonder who said that.
That goes a long way to
I don't know who said that.
fostering connection with everybody that you work with, because the minute you start going to hell with management, I don't care what they say about the cell phones, for example, or coming in late, who's gonna know? It's like that video. No one's gonna know. Go ahead and do it. No one's gonna know. Who's gonna know if they come in late? Who's gonna know if they're on their phone all the time? Who's gonna know if they're back every time you turn around, they're back in the break room meeting? No one's who's gonna see it. Number one, it's not the right thing to do. But number two, you really just butcher your whole relationship with everybody that you work with, because it's just not the right thing. And then you wonder why you work with are resentful.
Yep.
You're fed up.
Exactly.
If you'd done the right thing to begin with, you wouldn't have. You've created a environment that didn't have to happen because of your actions.
Right.
Because you
Lisa?
couldn't think past the end of your nose what you did and doing right was right for everybody else.
Exactly. Integrity.
Lisa, your thoughts?
So for me, call to action is really just look for the alignment in everything that you do. I think it's important. I think it just creates a more positive atmosphere when you're in alignment or have alignment or you're seeking that alignment. So,
Sandy?
I think it's just really important for everybody to be on the same page and to have an example by the leadership that shows that we need to care about each other. We need to help each other. We need to be nice to each other. It's just a matter, it's not much fun to be working with a bunch of people that are really annoying and that you hate. Or that hate you or whatever. I think it's really important, go back to that word support. If we are supporting and helping each other, I think we have a far better environment, and we're going to accomplish so much more because everybody's going to work together to do whatever it is we're trying to do. And again, this is not rocket science. This is just a matter of being humane and paying attention to what other people need and what you need to do. And if you can do that, you will be a very valuable team member. and people will like working with you. And if your colleagues are of the same mind, then you're going to like working with them. It's just a matter of what do you do. And again, if people are not following the rules, whatever the rules are, and there are no consequences for the rule breakers, the people who don't break the rules are just going to be annoyed. And they're going to be very annoyed with the rule breakers because nothing happens to them, even though they do stuff they know darn well they're not supposed to be doing. So it's just a matter of what kind of setup is in the office and who is determining that. And it's very nice to talk the talk, but the leadership has to walk the walk. And if they do, and if there are consequences for things that are not supposed to be done, then those consequences need to be exercised, because otherwise people will just keep doing it. And it just annoys everybody because nothing happens to them and they're doing stuff we were told over and over again not to do. So it's just a matter of what are you setting up in your workplace. And I think that if you set up something where everything is fair and people feel that everything is fair and everybody's pulling their weight, yeah, there you go. Teamwork, dreamwork. Just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
Well, I just want to leave everybody on a high note, and I found this through LinkedIn many years ago. Just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called garbage can, not garbage cannot. And that's from Oscar the Grouch. So
Yeah.
I just thought of that. I was like, that's a great way to end the call today. Is Oscar the Grouch? He was one of my favorite on Sesame Street. I loved Oscar. He was just so funny. But garbage cannot. I love that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today for Conversations for Humanity. We would love to have that great and engaging conversation with you. So please reach out to Sandy, Lisa, myself, Carla, and we would like to find out what really works for you in your organization, or what you don't like to see in your organization. We would like to have that conversation with you. Let us know. Uh, if you'd like to be a part of our community, reach out to one of us. We'd like to plug you into our greater community too as well. So thank you all for being here today.
So we'll see you tomorrow. And Chris, you'll send us the link for Carla's meeting.
Yes, I will. Absolutely. Well, I will do that tomorrow morning because we got to have some humanity happy hour tomorrow. That's on tap.
All right.
It may not be sips and tips. It may not be sips and tips tomorrow. So
I don't think I'm going to play today. So it's raining.
Not going to play today? Aww.
And I'm having someone over this evening to pick up something, so it kind of ruined my golf game. So, but that's okay.
That's okay.
There's always
All right, everybody. Have a great, wonderful
Wednesday.
See you tomorrow.